What a double page spread. You know, being a Sopranos fan, the mafia being involved with waste management, it just makes sense to me. And I appreciate this about them. With Hunter x Hunter Chapter 406, there is, of course, tons of new information, just as there always is, but everything seems to be culminating to one big event, which is going to be Hulkenberg's funeral, which is massive. But that is the tail end of the chapter, and I'm going to try to go in order here. So, yeah, we have Finks, Phaeton, and Nobunaga going through this kind of sewage treatment system, which, of course, you're on a gigantic ship with theoretically thousands, maybe millions of people. So obviously you would need this to be in there. But it's funny that Togashi would make a specific emphasis to show you this, but to also show you that this is, I believe, in between or right above tier 5. Yeah, he says in between tiers 4 and 5. So literally the sewage treatment system is above the lowest class of people that are on the ship. And if that's not just Togashi, telling it how it is in the world, with the elites on the highest of the high and the disregarded lower class on the very bottom. I think that's a very specific element that he threw into the story, as he's done through the entire story, because obviously you have the high-class princes and the succession contest, and then you have the various tiers. Like, it's very, very explicitly drawn out into where all of these people fit within the ideas of where the upper ruling class would throw them. But what I also think is really interesting about this is this idea of the succession war in general being associated with the higher class, because we've been following this story with obviously CHROLLO and the Phantom Troop wanting to take down Hisoka for what he did to Shalnark and Kortepe. But what I think is really interesting about it is that if you look at the higher class, you look at tier 1, you look at the Kakin princes, they are in a succession war, which means they are to kill off one another, their own brothers, their own sisters, until only one is left. And yeah, they were kind of forced into it by the king that enacted this to begin with. It's not like they all came together and decided that's what they were going to do. But I do find it interesting that on the highest echelon of society, the highest social status, these people are actively warring against each other and killing each other off. Where if you look at the lowest tier, the people that are, the lower class and the people that are disregarded, the poorer people, you look at the Phantom Troop, that they are willing to create this huge massive chaos in order to honor and avenge their fallen. And you actually even see that theme a little bit further in this chapter where we get back to Hinrai, which I didn't think that, honestly, I didn't think that we would follow up on this so quickly, so it's kind of cool that we did. But even them finding out that one of their own was killed by a Hisoka impersonator has now enacted them to basically now go against the Phantom Troop, or at least that seems what it seems like that's what it's implying, is that like, okay, one of our own was taken away, so fine, we'll go right to war with them right now. That they're not going to take this lying down, and that they're going to fight back against it. And, Hinrai is a very smart character, and that's one thing I really like about Hunter x Hunter and Togashi's writing style to begin with, is that a lot of his characters are just extremely intelligent. They could all be detectives in one way or another, They're also good at picking up on little clues or figuring out inconsistencies, and that's a lot of what Nen is and Nen battles to begin with. And I feel like that's a large reason why Togashi created the power system to begin with, because with Nen, it's not about who's the strongest most of the time, it's about figuring things out. It's about deducing how somebody's ability works, how your ability counteracts with theirs. It's about hiding particular tricks and tricks of the trade that you have with Nen. It's about not letting your opponent, not showing them your full hand. And even this page here where he asks, we will avenge her death, right? And he says, of course. And, Hinrai says, of course. And then as soon as he says that, it cuts back to an image of CHROLLO. So, like I said, once again, all of these people that are considered the lower class of society, they have such more, unity and loyalty to one another than anybody else on the higher class. So it's just an interesting little parallel there to see how people value different things. And a lot of it makes sense because when you don't have the riches and the luxury and the backing and, the safety net of the higher class, well, then all you really have is one another. And then that becomes the most important thing, this allegiance, this loyalty. And it's just a really, really interesting little dynamic that I noticed kind of just popping out and hitting me in the face in this chapter. So gotta mention it there. So, the repercussions of this could be pretty dire if Hinrai is pulling out of his kind of, truce with what he made with the fake Hisoka, realizing that it's the fake Hisoka, and understanding that there's a lot more going on here. You have Nobunaga heading back in order to confront the man that is covertly working with the Hyali, and then you have Nobunaga, or sorry, not Nobunaga. You have Finks and Phaeton kind of going on their own forward, where Nobunaga let them know about, oh yeah, there's this ability where there's these like Nen robots that come out and they take you and they kind of throw you out of the zone. And, you can't really harm them whatsoever. But they seem to think the condition is attacking first. So they're going to try to counteract that. But also what this is doing that is a little bit scary is all of the Phantom Troop is slowly getting a little bit more separated. You have Benolanov off by himself. CHROLLO is by himself. Nobunaga is now by himself. And they all keep kind of going their own direction. And, they all are super powerful just on their own. But the last chapter introduced, that Dogman character. It introduced, well, not introduced, but like he's there. And then all the other Morena's Hyali group that is constantly getting more and more powerful the more people that they kill. So, what's interesting is that people often underestimated the Phantom Troop from before in like the York New City arc, where they're like, yeah, we could take out, Uvugen, like that's no problem. And then obviously he showed them, yeah, that's not going to be so easy. But now we might be setting up for the opposite of that. Or at least a situation where we might actually see the Phantom Troop a little bit more as the underdogs, which is something that we're definitely not used to. Even in the Chimera Ants, the Phantom Troop kind of ran the gamut when it came to the Chimera Ants that they were fighting. So this might be the first time in the entire story where we really get to see them kind of put to the test, even individually, We also get a really big scene with CHROLLO here, and I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to shake out, but from what I understand, first, it shows him using a Nen ability, which is kind of like you dial a number on a phone, and it directs you towards your perfect match, which I believe in this context is leading him towards the person that has the Nen ability that will allow him to put Hisoka in the ground for good. Because they did say in a previous chapter that he was looking for somebody that has a Nen ability that he can steal that will finally put an end to Hisoka, right? And as what that Nen ability could be, I really don't know like the specifics of it. I think there's a few theories out there of characters we've seen before, but I really don't know because Hisoka was essentially killed by CHROLLO before. But it was Hisoka putting that Nen after death implant kind of within himself to restart his heart after, being blown up by CHROLLO. CHROLLO absolutely decimated Hisoka in their fight. Like, Hisoka got some good hits in, but CHROLLO won that fight through and through, And some people say CHROLLO cheated, yada, yada. But, like, CHROLLO... Is it not cheating just in general to steal Nen abilities and use them? I mean, it's Nen. Come on. What cheating is there? Anyways, that all aside, I know why people say that. But, like, let's just go with the facts. And the facts are CHROLLO beat the shit out of Hisoka. All right? But Hisoka had that Nen after death kind of activated, and it brought him back. So I would believe that a Nen ability that would put Hisoka in the ground for good would be something that could take away this idea of Nen after death, which is like this whole concept that it's always been there, but Togashi has really, really been doubling down on it for quite some time, because there was that whole moment in the Chimera Ant arc where after Pito died, her Nen ability kind of resurrected her body for a moment. And then there was the Hisoka moment where he essentially died and the Nen ability resurrected him. And when you're dealing with this succession war and all of this, leading towards this big ritual that will, put somebody else in power. And we saw that shot of the king having all of the different coffins for all of the princes. And, I always believed that it had something to do with this Nen after death concept, that after they all die and one prince is left, something about all of their energy, all of their Nen is going to create this ritual. Maybe it's in order to even access the Dark Continent. Maybe it's all going to play in together. I'm really not sure, but this has been a big deal. And also beyond Netero implanting the curses into his children, where, it's going to activate at some point. And then also Camilla having the Untouchables, commit this curse and they die, and then the Nen activates after that. So it's like, this has all been here for quite some time. So I could only imagine that the ability to, defeat Hisoka is going to play into all these themes and be something that eradicates this Nen after death, which would be extremely powerful, right? Because Nen after death has already shown to be like one of the most powerful things that is going on here within this world. And then if you look at the 3 items, because CHROLLO says that he has to steal these 3 items before he can take the ability. I don't really know why that's a condition, but apparently it is. But it might also play into what is going on with the Succession War, because the 3 items, one is the urn, and that's the urn that began the Succession War, that essentially gave everybody their Nen Beast, if I'm recalling 100% correctly. The other one is a divine mummy that's an overseer of the succession battle, which I guess is just, I imagine it's the 3 stages. So the urn is to begin the succession contest. The statue is probably what keeps it in play. It's probably the thing that is allowing everything to go the way that it's supposed to. It's probably the thing that stops people from leaving the bounds, of the succession war. So it's the thing that keeps it going. It says it's the overseer, right? And then the dagger, or the sword, is the sword of ascension given to the next king. So that is something that probably activates when the winner is chosen or when the final prince survives. So you got 3 stages here of the succession contest. Now, if CHROLLO needs to steal these, do these abilities of these items play into what he needs to steal the Nen ability, Or are these items in and of themselves part of what he's going to use in order to kill Hisoka for good? And there's even more questions, like if he steals these items, does the Succession War still keep going? Like if the items are in his possession, is that like a condition, right? Like right now, are they in the possession of the king, right? And he needs to have them. If they're in the possession of CHROLLO, does the Succession War get all fucked up? Does it get negated? Does it expand? Like, do all the Phantom Troop get Nen Beasts? I don't know. That probably won't happen. But like, what happens when he takes these abilities? If these items are taken out of play at the Succession War, does that get rid of everything? And if that does, what does that even mean? And is the Nen ability that he's looking for from somebody that we've seen so far? Because the phone seems to indicate that they're on a higher level of the ship than where he is. So if they are on tier 1, it opens it up to any of the princes or the bodyguards or anybody that we've seen. Camilla has that ability where she can kind of resurrect momentarily, which would make sense. And then Serenich also has the ability where he can see a little bit into the future. But is that what he would lead? Would that really help him defeat Hisoka? Although it would be incredibly interesting to see CHROLLO get led to Serenich. You know what I mean? If that's where the phone is taking him, that would be wild. But I don't really know. Maybe it's the king himself. Maybe the king, because he is, has access to all of these items, and it seems like he's very knowledgeable about everything that's happened so far. Like, he's probably been through a succession war himself. He's, the one heading through this expedition. He's the one that has all the power. Maybe the Kakin King has something that CHROLLO needs. Or maybe it's beyond Netero, because we still don't know what his Nen ability is. But regardless of who it is, whose ability he needs to steal, regardless of where the 3 items are and what it will mean when he takes them, it seems like CHROLLO is at Hulkenberg's funeral along with tons of other people, and there's a lot of shit that's going to go down here. I would not even be surprised if the Hulkenberg funeral sort of is the beginning of our, big kind of third act of the Succession War. If it's like the palace invasion of the Chimera Ant arc beginning here, because you have so much potential for things to go wrong. You have Hulkenberg himself, who is in a very strict time limit to finish his plan of whatever it is, trying to switch bodies again, because he's going to lose his soul, essentially, if he doesn't. If CHROLLO is here, if the other Hylian members are here, if the Phantom Troop is getting split up, if CHROLLO is being led to this person that's on tier 1, I mean, he could come into contact with Hisoka, he could come into contact with Kurapika, with Serenich. All of those characters would be very, very interesting to see him cross paths with. Not to mention the fact that it seems like all of the mafia group now is just in all-out war because of what Hinrai discovered, and with Nobunaga going back, it just, dude, it's just gonna evolve into chaos. And I really don't know where it's gonna go, man, but what I will say is that I do think that whatever ability CHROLLO is after probably has something to do with eliminating Ned after death, which would be insanely powerful, but would also make sense why he has to complete all of these conditions to gain something so powerful. I also think if he obtains the items, it might do something fucky with the succession war. I'm not saying it would eliminate the succession war, but I feel like those items need to be in play for this to be working. And so, like, if that statue was destroyed, you know, the overseer, does that eliminate, you know, I don't know, like, what would happen then? And then, yeah, so, and then up on tier 1, obviously, you know, Hisoka's walking around, and who knows who he could come in contact with. Who knows what princes are actually going to be at the Hulkenberg funeral, because it seems like Serenich wouldn't be there because he's still doing his stuff. And Togashi's probably saving him, continuously building him up to be like more of a final antagonist. But there's a lot of other stuff that can go down before that happens. So yeah, I guess we're going to find out. Actually, and you know what? We might not even find out because Togashi jumps around a lot. So we might not even be at the Hulkenberg funeral in the next chapter. We might go somewhere else. Or we might jump back in time a little bit to see, you know, Kurapika and everybody else getting ready to go to the funeral. Who knows where it could go, man. But I'm excited to see it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you think the ability is that CHROLLO needs. And are you as nervous for the Phantom Troupe kind of splitting up as I am? Because I love the Phantom Troupe, man, but I feel like maybe they've been a little too cocky. I don't know. Anyways, guys, leave all your thoughts, theories, opinions down below. Thanks, as always, for watching. I do appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up and a comment. Help it out in the algorithm. Other than that, hope you have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you next time.